Welcome back to another episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update, your go-to source for staying sharp in the fast-moving worlds of manufacturing, packaging, coding, and beyond. If you've been with us for a while, you already know the drill, but if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. We break down the stories shaping our industry so you can stay ahead of the curve without having to dig through the noise. Let's get into what's making headlines this week. I'm your host Alexa, and today we'll discuss topics ranging from Walmart and other U.S. companies working to build a pipeline of skilled tradespeople, to a seafood heist involving $400,000 worth of lobster meat, to new SNAP restrictions on soda and candy in 5 states, and finally the latest dietary guidelines urging Americans to avoid processed foods and added sugars. Let's dive in. The U.S. is facing a major challenge. There just aren't enough skilled tradespeople to go around. From plumbers to electricians to maintenance technicians, the demand for these roles is skyrocketing, but the supply of workers isn't keeping up. Companies like Walmart and Lowe are stepping up to tackle this issue head-on, and their efforts are making waves. The nation's largest retailer and private employer revamped its training program in 2024 to address the growing shortage of skilled tradespeople. The program focuses on training maintenance technicians, those unsung heroes who keep conveyor belts running, grocery cases cold, and stores functioning smoothly. By mid-November of 2025, nearly 400 employees had graduated from the program. The first class of 108 associates all landed technician roles. These jobs come with an average pay of $32 per hour. Walmart has set its sights on training 4,000 workers by 2030. Liz Cardenas joined Walmart in 2023 as an automation equipment operator, earning a modest wage. Today, Liz is fixing conveyor belts and other equipment at distribution centers. She now earns $43.50 an hour, nearly double her previous pay. I was able to move out of my parents' house, she shared. I have my own apartment, I was able to get a car, and I'm able to give more to my 401k. Liz's story is a testament to how these programs can transform lives. Lowe has also been investing heavily in skilled trades. Since 2023, its charitable arm has poured $43 million into partnerships with technical colleges and nonprofits to recruit and train workers. Lowe CEO Marvin Ellison put it best. While technology continues to evolve, it cannot replace plumbers, electricians, construction workers, maintenance and other repair pros, or other tradespeople. The company launched a 90-day online training program in 2022 for employees interested in roles like carpentry and utility maintenance. Experts point to a few key factors: a wave of retirement, reduced immigration, and a general lack of awareness about the opportunities in skilled trades. McKinsey's analysis predicts a 20-to-1 imbalance in trade job openings versus new employees from 2022 to 2032. This gap could cost companies over $5.3 billion annually in talent acquisition and training costs. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon believes awareness is a big part of the problem. I think most Americans probably don't know what a tech makes that helps take care of our stores and clubs, and that we can help them learn how to be a tech, he said. Walmart's training program combines hands-on instruction with classroom learning in areas like HVAC, electrical work, and general maintenance. The company has expanded its training sites to new locations in Indiana and Florida. Maintenance technician roles are critical to keeping operations running smoothly, especially during the holiday season. A single refrigeration system failure in a Walmart store could result in $300,000 to $400,000 worth of lost product. As RJ Zanes, Walmart's Vice President of Facility Services, put it, "We have to ensure that we've got the right skills there to do preventive maintenance, and when we do have a breakdown, to make sure that we get it back up as fast as possible to minimize that cost of downtime." While these initiatives are making a difference, experts caution that they won't completely close the gap. Mervyn Jebaraj from the University of Arkansas Walton College of Business noted that the shortage will persist, even if these programs help ease it. "For as long as somebody physically needs to fix this, the shortage will persist," he said. In the end, the efforts by Walmart, Lowe, and others are a step in the right direction. By investing in training and raising awareness, they're not just addressing a labor shortage, they're creating opportunities for workers to build better lives. It's a win-win, but there's still a long road ahead. Alright, let's talk about a seafood heist that sounds like something out of a movie. Picture this: 40,000 oysters, $400,000 worth of lobster meat, and a load of crab gone, stolen, all in separate incidents across New England. Let's dive into the details. First up, the oyster theft. This happened on November 22nd in Falmouth, Maine, at an aquaculture site in Costco Bay. Thieves made off with 14 cages of oysters, many of which were full grown and ready for sale. The total value, $20,000. Marine Patrol Sergeant Matthew Sinclair summed it up perfectly. This is a devastating situation for a small businessman, and honestly, he's right. This kind of loss can be crushing for a small operation. Now let's head about 160 miles south to Taunton, Massachusetts, where things get even more bizarre. On December 2nd, a load of crab disappeared after leaving the Lineage Logistics warehouse. Then just 10 days later, on December 12th, $400,000 worth of lobster meat destined for Costco stores in Illinois and Minnesota was stolen. But here's the kicker. The Lobster Heist wasn't just a grab and go. It was a highly sophisticated operation. Dylan Rexing, the CEO of Rexing Companies, explained how it went down. The thieves impersonated a legitimate trucking company. They used a spoofed email address, changed the name on the side of the truck, and even created a fake certified driver's license. Rexing called it a very sophisticated crime, and honestly, it's hard to argue with that. But this isn't just a one-off thing. According to Chris Burrows, president of the Transportation Intermediaries Association, freight theft has been a growing problem for over a decade, and it's only getting worse. He explained that there are two main types of theft. One involves impersonating legitimate trucking companies, like in the Lobster Heist, and the other pushes phishing emails to gain access to systems and payments. Burrows didn't mince words, calling it a massive growing problem that needs to be addressed. So, what happens to all this stolen seafood? Well, given its short shelf life, the lobster likely ended up in restaurants. And while it's easy to joke about needing to steal butter to go with it, the reality is that these crimes hurt everyone. As Rexon pointed out, whether you eat seafood or not, they're stealing other items. They're stealing items to build your cars. They're stealing items that go into computers. Ultimately, that cost gets thrown to the consumer. And there you have it, a seafood crime spree that's as fascinating as it is frustrating. From oysters to lobsters to crab, these thefts highlight a growing issue in the supply chain. Let's just hope that authorities can crack the case before the next big heist. As of January 1st, 5 states, Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska, Utah, and West Virginia, rolled out new restrictions on what people can buy with SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps. And this is just the beginning, with at least 18 states planning to follow suit. So, what's the deal? These states are banning SNAP purchases of certain foods like soda, candy, and even some prepared items. For example, Utah and West Virginia are targeting soda and soft drinks. Nebraska is banning soda and energy drinks. Indiana is cracking down on soft drinks and candy. Iowa, though, has the strictest rules, banning not just soda and candy, but also certain taxable and prepared foods. This push is part of a larger effort led by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Their goal to reduce chronic diseases like obesity and diabetes by cutting out unhealthy foods from the $100 billion federal SNAP program, which serves 42 million Americans. Kennedy put it bluntly. We cannot continue a system that forces taxpayers to fund programs that make people sick and then pay a second time to treat the illnesses those programs help create. But not everyone is on board. Critics argue that these bans are costly, complicated, and might not even work. Kate Bauer, a nutrition science expert at the University of Michigan, warned, "It's a disaster waiting to happen of people trying to buy food and being rejected." Gina Platanino from the Food Research and Action Center said, "Punishing SNAP recipients means we all get to pay more at the grocery store." The numbers back up these concerns. A report by the National Grocers Association estimated that implementing these restrictions will cost U.S. retailers $1.6 billion upfront and $759 million every year after that. And for SNAP recipients like Mark Craig, who receives $298 a month in benefits, these changes add another layer of stress. Living out of his car in Des Moines, Mark shared, "They treat people that get food stamps like we're not people." There's also the question of whether these bans will actually improve health. Research has been mixed, and Anand Parekh, a health policy expert, pointed out the bigger issue. This doesn't solve the two fundamental problems, which is healthy food in this country is not affordable, and unhealthy food is cheap and ubiquitous. For now, these waivers will run for 2 years, with the option to extend them for another 3. States are required to assess the impact, but it's clear this is a controversial move that's sparking debates about public health, food access, and the role of governments in shaping diets. So, what do you think? Are these bans a step toward a healthier America, or are they just making life harder for those who rely on SNAP? One thing's for sure, this is a conversation that's far from over. Let's talk about the new dietary guidelines that are making waves across the country. Released as part of the 2025 to 2030 U.S. Dietary Guidelines for Americans, these recommendations are all about simplifying nutrition advice and encouraging healthier eating habits. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. summed it up perfectly. My message is clear: eat real food. The guidelines emphasize fresh vegetables, whole grains, dairy, and protein while urging Americans to avoid highly processed foods and added sugars. They even introduced a new inverted food pyramid with protein, dairy, healthy fats, and fruits and vegetables at the top, and whole grains at the bottom. One of the biggest changes, a strong stance against ultra-processed foods. The guidelines recommended steering clear of packaged ready-to-eat, salty or sweet foods like chips, cookies, and candy. Dr. David Kessler, a former FDA commissioner, praised this shift, saying, "There should be broad agreement that eating more whole foods and reducing highly processed carbohydrates is a major advance in how we approach diet and health." But not everyone is thrilled. Marianne Nestle, a nutritionist and food policy expert, raised concerns about the focus on meat and dairy as primary protein sources, saying, "Overall, if people eat the way these are recommended, they will be eating more calories, not less." The guidelines also suggest increasing protein intake significantly from 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight to 1.2 to 1.6 grams. While some experts see this as a positive step, others, like the American Heart Association, are calling for more research on the best protein sources for optimal health. Another major update: these guidelines now advise avoiding added sugars altogether. Americans currently consume an average of 17 teaspoons of added sugar per day, but the new recommendation is no more than 10 grams or about 2 teaspoons per meal. And when it comes to alcohol, the previous limits of 1 drink per day for women and 2 for men have been replaced with a simple message: consume less alcohol for better health. These guidelines will have a big impact, especially on programs like the National School Lunch Program, which feeds nearly 30 million children every day. But implementing these changes could take years, as the Agriculture Department works to translate the recommendations into specific requirements for school meals. It's worth noting that the new guidelines largely rejected advice from a previous panel of nutrition experts. Some critics pointed out financial ties between the new advisory group and the meat and dairy industries. Despite this, the guidelines have drawn cautious praise for their focus on whole foods and reducing processed carbohydrates. So, what do you think? Are these guidelines a step in the right direction, or do they leave room for improvement? One thing's for sure: this conversation about what we eat and how it affects our health is far from over. This episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update was brought to you by our SNEED-JET Titan T6 portable handheld inkjet printer, your lightweight, ultra-portable solution for high-resolution printing on virtually any surface. With the ability to print alphanumeric text, barcodes, logos, and more in multiple colors, it's perfect for marking day codes, batch codes, and beyond. Compact, versatile, and easy to use, the Titan T6 is built to print anywhere at any angle with no ink leakage. And we've made it to recall radar. So, starting off, we have Clone Cone Shrimp Paste by Gusto Group Incorporated. The recall was announced January 1st of 2026. It's being recalled due to potential metal contamination, specifically lead. We also have Primavera Tamales by Primavera Nueva Incorporated, which was announced January 7th of 2026. It's being pulled from shelves over concerns of Listeria mitocytogenes contamination. We have Carrot Top Kitchen's hummus varieties, announced January 7th of 2026. It's being recalled for a potential or undeclared allergen, sesame. And our last one, we have New Way Import Preserved Mustard and Soybean Oil, which was announced January 5th of 2026, recalled due to undeclared wheat, posing a risk for those with allergies. That's it for this week's episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update, but the conversation doesn't stop here. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment and let us know what topics you'd like to see us dive into next. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll catch you in on the next one. Bye, everyone.